4.1, consideration of the Kinloch Representative Group recommendation to amend the operational hours for Central Kids Kindergarten Trust. We have Mr. John Ridd.
No, I'm here for the Volcanic Centre. I'm Lisa today.
Okay, so who is doing this one? Oh, Mr. Manhallen.
Yeah, I'll handle
Thank you, Alan.
The Kinloch Community Association or Residents Group are in favour of extending the hours as per the suggested recommendation to the paper. Councillor Guy can...
Pretty straightforward. Any questions of Mr. Manhattan? Councillor Guy, the representative out there. Thank you, Councillor Guy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just that there was a meeting held, a public meeting on the 23rd of the 11th regarding the Kinloch Kindergarten and its ongoing sustainability, and it was decided that to enable it to continue to be sustainable, that they would need to extend the hours, and there was an extension required from 12:30 till 2:30 on a Tuesday. So I think that it's been brought to Council before, and that's basically what we're asking today, and the Kinloch Representative Group certainly recommends that Council look at the extension for those few hours. There has been deliberation with other members of the public in Kinloch, and everyone was very supportive of that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Guy. Thank you for that update or confirmation. There's obviously a recommendation there. Are you happy to recommend the approval part of that? Yep.
Yes, if I could put that recommendation to Council, that we amend the operational hours for the Central Kids Kindergarten Trust.
Approved. That's the second word decline out. Thank you, Councillor Guy. Seconded by Councillor Williamson. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. 4.2, consideration of the Turangi-Tongariro Community Board recommendation, the Turangi Volcanic Activity Centre replacement lease.
Yep. So as I said, I'm Lisa.
John Ridd.
Yeah, I'm Lisa today, but I'll take any specific questions on that recommendation, but I'll probably defer to Councillor Mack if there's any governance comments that need to be made.
Okay. Councillor Mack.
Okay, so just for a bit of clarity, obviously, as the TTCB, we don't get involved in the day-to-day running of the leases. Obviously, we are there at the end to discuss whether or not we will continue. I would obviously, and I have confirmed this, like to think that Council did actually enter into discussions with the tenant and find out exactly what it is that we were going to do. I've spoken to Lisa and that actually has happened. A couple of things that I'd like to say is that to do with the centre obviously being less hours, that is true, but I understand as Council we did offer to open the centre at the Volcanic Centre's cost for up to 60 hours a week, and they declined to do that. So I'm going to say that Lisa has done the job, if you like, of actually going through all the options on the understanding that yes, times have changed, and that's why we came to the decision we did, that we are no longer just an eyesight, and we are using TDC staff now. So for us, that was some of the reasons, but Lisa obviously put this proposal forward, and really we were just talking about whether we were going to renew the lease or not. That's where we stood.
Okay, Councillor, any other questions? Or Councillor Park?
So I don't mean to put you on the spot, John,
no, okay.
Being Lisa, but so there was no right of renewal on the original lease?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Is it, am I led to understand there's nothing proposed to go in there, or is it just being the thermal activity, the volcanic centre located for some other particular use, or nothing prescribed yet?
No.
Okay, Councillor Boddy.
I think we had a very good presentation from Mr. Wallace this morning, and I think he rightly pointed out that the loss that may lead to the activities within that particular area. We're always saying there needs to be more activity in Turangi. This is one of them. There's got to be a compromise.
Any other questions? Councillor Taylor?
Yes, so in the same vein as Councillor Williamson's question, if the Volcanic Activity Centre vacates that part of the building, what is proposed to put in there, or we're just going to leave it empty?
There's nothing proposed at the moment.
Okay. So it doesn't come as an opportunity cost to us leaving it there.
You have to make that call.
Councillor Guy?
Could I ask if there is a definitive date for the lease to expire?
I think it's actually expired. I think. Yeah, I'd have to double check on that, but I actually think it's expired.
Okay.
So through the chair,
Can we have that confirmed?
Yep, I'll
Roll
confirm.
that up, please. Yeah. When, sorry? Okay,
Thanks, Councillor.
cool. Any other questions?
yeah, through the chair.
Yes, Councillor
so
Williamson?
just on the same vein as the actual what's proposed, obviously or not, the short term maybe the next 2 to 4 years. So the applicant's requesting a 2 years right of renewal 2 years. Is that more the whole point, or is it more the point perhaps around the actual peppercorn lease, peppercorn rent, or you know? I just want to get a bit more steer from perhaps Councillor Mack and through the community board, perhaps give me a bit more steer on that. Thank you.
So for us, obviously, the first thing is it's now staffed by TDC staff, which means that ratepayers, it just can't be paid for by ratepayers. And I think looking at the options here where it was offered to stay open more than 34 hours and that wasn't taken, and also the fact that we don't know that in 2 years we're going to be in the same environment as we are now, and if we have a private tenant, we may be left with the fact that we have a building that we have changed the use of, and we've actually got a tenant within there. So it's just the fact that the lease is up, and at the end of the day we have the right to say whether or not we want to renew, and TTCV decided based on all the facts that they don't want to renew.
Can I just confirm it was an eyesight previously staffed by DGLT staff?
That's right.
Correct, which is funded by ratepayers?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's slightly different. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, not directly, yes.
There was obviously lease and commission paid as well on ticket sales.
Yeah, so it was a lease plus commission?
There was commission on ticket sales, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? I suppose I'm loath to disagree with the community board, but I do beg the question that you've got an enterprise there that does have visitation, and I would have thought that Turangi would grab it with significant arms and wrap it and cuddle it and try and enhance it. But I have great faith in the board that they've obviously thought about this long and hard. But the one iconic thing, and there's, as Councillor Williamson has asked, that there doesn't appear to be any replacement occupier or council activity going in there. Would we entertain a slightly extended business as usual for a certain amount of time? I'm just trying to just tease that out, perhaps. But as I say, I'm loath to go against the recommendation. Councillor Park.
Yes, so Your Worship, I sort of understand where the board's coming from, and sort of feel the same way you do. Does this perhaps need another conversation in Turangi? So I certainly wouldn't go against what the board is saying, but I'm wondering, do we entertain the thought of sending it back to the board and just leaving it status quo at the moment, just to tease out, because as Mr. Wallace said, that was just an offer. It wasn't his fixed offer. He was just trying to tease out where things sat, and so I'm just wondering if perhaps we send it back to the board for another round of due diligence.
Councillor Taylor.
So, thank you, Wish. I'm on with Councillor Park on that. I'm reluctant to overrule the board because they're the decision making. We've delegated the authority for them to do this. But I wonder, in the post-COVID environment we're in, some businesses are going to thrive and some are going to fail, and it's just, that's part of the commercial world. And I wonder if we give this a little bit more time and we have a middle ground between the two recommendations we've got, that we send it back to the board with a clear steer. We give it a little bit more time. If it's not going to be viable, it's not going to be viable. But I do have some issues around council propping up commercial business with public funds. That's not what we should be doing. But I'm also conscious that if it's a tourist venture and it's going to survive, it's fine. It'll stand on its own 2 feet on its own merits. But if it doesn't, then it goes the way of everything else.
Through the chair.
Yeah, Councillor Williamson.
I tend to, once again, I tend to support the sentiment of fellow councillors, as previous speakers, with the regard. Obviously, I understand Councillor Mack's position, where I agree that if TDC staff are manning it, everything. But having said that, it is providing economic benefits to the region as well. So, so it's, to me, that's seems sensible to sort of support activities that are going to provide an economic benefit to the region.
Right. Okay, well, there's a bit of an, I feel a little bit of an appetite, Councillor Mack, that perhaps we do refer this back to the board, and perhaps when you do discuss it, we could come down and have a chat too, because I am a little, we're going into the festive season, visitation season, domestic tourism. Domestic tourism is going to be a big forefront of our rebound, hopefully this year, and to take a product away, I just don't see the logic in that at this stage. But understand all your reasonings and why the board have they've sort of come to that conclusion. I'm wondering whether it's possible that Councillor Park might be able to move a resolution to that effect.
No, I just wanted to ask a question of our CEO.
Yep.
Traditionally, over the festive season and the statutory holidays and things, customer service centres and councils around the country close. What does that look like in our combined eyesight council customer service spaces?
So we're closed on Christmas Day and open all other days, but on slightly reduced hours.
Councillor Body?
I would assume that this building pays rates, this particular piece of property pays rates.
The council...
It's council-owned property,
So it doesn't pay rates on a piece of land.
but it's an internal. It's an internal.
I understand that. Secondly, in regards of, you've lost me, insurance. Who pays the insurance on the building?
It's a council building.
So the council. So therefore, at the end of the day, it's the ratepayer. So therefore, if the tenant at that particular building met those charges, rather than the lease that's been paid now, rather than have an empty building there that we're still going to pay rates and insurance on, how would that work?
So through the chair, the rates and insurance will be paid by us regardless of what activities are in the building. Even if the VAC wasn't there, the building would still be used as the information centre and customer service centre, so it would still have a use to it. I guess what you're saying is, in a lease situation, you often have a rental amount plus outgoings, or we could certainly make a rental amount equal to those outgoings if that was a justification you wanted to go down. But I guess that would be coming back to the suggestion of referring it back to the board if it was that the council wanted to have a discussion about them staying there, and then it becomes the financial terms you put around it. And I guess the next bit would be obviously that would mean that the VAC would continue over that festive season until we get that opportunity to have that discussion, which would be in the new year.
Certainly could be part of that, referring back to the board could be part of that conversation. Yeah.
We'd have to negotiate a short-term arrangement, as Gareth is alluding to. We'd have to, if that was the decision of the council.
The current lease expires December. Yeah.
It expires in December. Since COVID, we haven't been recovering any rental off the site, so I think that's what we're referring to. That we'd need to negotiate something. Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, councillors. I think it's a reasonable suggestion that we ask to refer it back to the board and just to reconsider, perhaps with some slightly different scenarios on the financials, and that the council be in attendance at the particular conversation to get an absolute feel for we're doing the right thing or not. So I'd like to move that refer the subject matter back to the board. Councillor Taylor?
Sorry to interrupt you, Isha. reading what's on the board there, I'm just conscious that this is just a buck passing exercise. I think we need to have some very clear parameters around this. The reasons why we're doing this are, rather than just going, oh, we can't make a decision, you guys have another crack at it. I just think that's unfair on them. In that respect, I'd like to see something along the lines of the business pays its own way, it's at no cost to us, and there is no opportunity cost in terms of the building. So if we need the building, that's fine. But at the moment, I'm hearing it's just going to be empty, so there's of no value added to us. So words to that effect, so that we give them a clear steer rather than just saying, we can't decide, you guys do it.
Okay, what's your suggested recommendation then, please?
Just that. Sorry.
So the matter gets referred back to the board with...
But matters to consider would be the other opportunities for use of that space, that it pays its own way, so that it comes at no cost to ratepayers.
Cost neutral.
Cost neutral. And we look at an interim term. So we're not looking at signing a new lease, but this is a stopgap as a wait and see period of time. So it's not costing ratepayers money. This is an interim.
Through the chair.
But for clarity, if there's no cost to us, how do you staff it?
Through the chair, that would be whatever costs are incurred through eyesight staff that are there would have to be covered by revenue from ticket sales.
Through the chair.
Councillor Williamson.
Yeah, I understand what Councillor Taylor's saying, but to me, it's not so much the commercial venture; it's more the benefits it's going to bring people stopping in town. So I don't think you really put a value as a ratepayer paying or fronting it. So I think it's a bigger discussion point around the benefits it brings to the district as an activity, and notwithstanding and there's nothing proposed to go in there in the short term. To me, it seems sensible to maintain the activity there, but perhaps having some more further discussions. I mean, the applicant made a conversation before, made a suggestion about the commission, but he may be amenable to looking at other discussion points around.
Okay.
Around it.
So we've got it, John.
So we'll negotiate terms. I'm hearing what you're saying. So we'll negotiate terms with the current leaseholder for a period of time. We'll get together with the board and council post Christmas to have another conversation. But we're probably looking at 3, 4, maybe 6 months arrangement here. So we can go away and have those negotiations if that helps. You don't need to get into that level.
Okay.
Parts that you want to review.
Activities limited for the council, and then when it comes back it'll be a fine, and I think that's a good thing. And what Councillor Taylor's reporting here suggested regarding the costs. So, please. Seconded by Councillor Boddy. Okay, all those in favour, please say aye. 4.3, adoption of the annual report. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Worship. Good afternoon.
No, you shouldn't have said that.
Well aware this is the longest annual report from Audit New Zealand spoke around the received Audit New Zealand site.
We took the extra adopted, which is a positive, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much. I come out of work that you've been bid stuff with the auditor and whatever. Surely there must be a spelling mistake there, John.
To do with the responses from the satisfactory, how the responses were measured and what somewhat satisfied responses do not count towards our. If you put something in to measure it as an outcome, and then just finally the next line issues, and what were those ones?
So the who was satisfied, the way satisfied or somewhat satisfied, we can only include the ones in the satisfied or the very satisfied. Audit tells us.
Include that the satisfactory survey would have been better than it was.
Well, somewhat satisfied as well. So, and so now we're reviewing our performance next long-term plan.
For the next.
So our annual report 2021, we will.
What then were the other ones?
3 Waters annual report, and it's the system not quite relaying
Within regards of delays and getting it through audit, would it be correct?
audit the information that audit us of, we're aware of, and we're looking to address.
All right, there's a suggestion.
Done. Reading it was like going back to that it's one of the best ones we've
In
seen.
your report that Ashley, our internal
Okay, all right, thank you. Please say aye. Is against? Carried. And shared path renewal.
Yes, so today I'd like to request that Council accept the tender for $1 million. I'll take the paper as read, but just a quick comment that there were, again, quite a competitive tender process with 5 really good contractors top. So it's quite an exciting project that's taken a number of years to get to this point. So, yeah, any questions?
Okay, thanks, Tom. Any questions of Tom?
Given another agenda item we have with the private plan change, will the scope of this upgrade take into account?
Good. Okay, thank you, Tom. Looks pretty. There's obviously a familiar name of the successful contractor. We're completely confident that particular firm in question has the capability and manpower. Obviously, that's been all in the weighted attributes. Guaranteed.
Yep. So we certainly did assess them, probably in particular, and we probably scored them down a little bit in relation to resources. The evaluation team, because there is a subtle concern that they've got a lot of work on their plate, but I would say they certainly haven't let us down yet, and so it's difficult to rule someone out when they're actually performing really well across the board. They're winning a lot of work, but they're continuing to perform well. So that was considered by the evaluation team, but I would say as well that their submission, they'd thought it through, that it was one of the best methodologies I'd seen as well. So I'm pretty confident that they'll continue to perform in this space.
Cool. Thank you, Tom, and please give our regards to thank you to the evaluation team too, because I know a lot of work goes on behind the scenes here. Right, recommendation up on the board there. When's the start date?
So after awards, so we've sort of got to get the contract signed and stuff, so they'll start early in the new year, and it's they've got 9 months to complete, so it'll sort of finish just into the new financial year.
Right, cool. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Westman. That CAMEX be awarded this, and as per the recommendation up there, all those in favour, please say aye. Is against? Carried. Thank you, Tom. Right. 4.5, Waiora House Project. Request for unbudgeted expenditure. Mr. Gareth Green.
So yes, Your Worship, I'm filling in with Dylan, who's unfortunately absent due to a family bereavement, but I think this item will come to as no surprise for you. You've been through a couple of conversations, in fact had a paper sit on the table previously. This is for a reduced amount of unbudgeted expenditure to commence the design phase of the Waiora House project, and obviously you've tentatively included it in your long-term plan for next year. So the second part of the resolution essentially is that notes that should that continue, then this unbudgeted amount will be taken from that subsequent allocation.
Cool. All right, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Green? No. There's a recommendation up there. We get into this, as you say, we've highlighted in the long-term plan as well. So this gets the project, or get some sort of thing underway here, the design phase anyway. Councillor Taylor, moved. Thank you. Councillor Guy, seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Yep. Councillor Body. 4.6, fees and charges. AC Bars Private Pools. Scott. Afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon, everybody. My laptop's just died, so I'm going to try and answer as many questions as I can with a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So this is regarding the refurbishment of the private pools, which should be opening within the next couple of months. A discussion to have around fees and charges. I've submitted recommendations for what I feel regards to the rest of the industry across New Zealand. It's primarily based on taking averages and kind of like-for-like services around the country. So I take it the document's read. So, you guys have any questions?
Any questions, Scott? Pretty straightforward there. Oof. No problems with the prices? Okay, Scott. You got off scot-free?
Oh, almost. Almost.
Councillor Park.
Sorry, just in regards to the new sauna, does that
Yes.
have its own separate charge? Sorry, I might have missed it in the paper.
So the sauna is included in the entrance fee for the pools anyway, as in the 80 bars leisure pool. So
If someone was just to use the sauna, is there a separate fee, or is that not?
no, it's just included in the entrance fee.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, thanks. Thanks very much, Scott. Recommendation there. Can I have a move? Thanks, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. 4.7, Health and Safety Report. Michelle. Afternoon, Michelle. Merry Christmas.
Am I on now?
Perfect.
Sorry about
Start
that.
again, Michelle.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, just saying it's been an interesting year with COVID, but you know, we've seemed to have got through that. And as you see from the report, we have had a spate of incidents, both with our contractors and internally. And I guess the ones that particularly have interest to all of us really is the ones we have control and influence over. And just to give you an update on the playground equipment ones, this has really incurred a fast tracking the SPM, which is the asset management program, and Parks and Reserves, and Kieran Smith, the cemeteries and asset manager. He's doing some fast tracking the work and really upgrading, making sure that all of our assets like the goalpost, playground equipment, that we've actually got good documentation that supports it. You know, currently we haven't got historic documentation. So the new goalposts for Waitanui have been ordered and arriving this week, and they should be installed before Christmas. So other than that, has anyone else got anything they'd like to question or comment on?
Sure. Thank you, Michelle. And appreciate, you're right, it's been an interesting year.
Yeah.
Questions for Michelle? No, all good. Okay, it's pretty well documented report, what's happened and how we're going, and obviously, you know, sad that these things happen. So, thank you for being at the forefront.
Get some learnings from it, so that's the main thing.
Yes, yeah, cool. Okay, recommendation up there. We received the report, and thank you, Michelle. Could I have a mover, please? Thanks, Councillor Guy, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. As against, carried. Thank you very much. 4.8, draft asset management plans. Dennis. Afternoon, Dennis.
Afternoon, Your Worship, Councillors. We report here for the adoption of the draft asset management plans. Attached to the report is the executive summaries for each of those asset management plans. I'll take the item as read and take any questions, but within the report we do point out that the asset management plans in their entirety will be available when the long-term plan or the draft long-term plan is published, and I would encourage you all to pick up those voluminous books and read them thoroughly. They're interesting reading.
I'm sure. Yeah, I was that a joke. Oh, okay. Yeah. No. Thank you, Dennis, for that recommendation. We will certainly take that up over the festive season. All right. Anything else? No, that's it. Any questions of Dennis? Oh. Who's that? That's me. Right, recommendation there. Adopt the draft asset management plan. Do I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Leonard. Those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.9, Nukaho private plan change. Hillary. Nice to see you, Hillary. Sorry.
Sorry, I'll take the item as read. This is just sort of a gateway decision for the private plan change which we've received. So basically we've got the option of accepting, adopting or rejecting the plan change. It doesn't put any obligation on council in terms of the assessment of the plan change later on. This is just basically to allow it to progress to notification. I think I've mentioned in the agenda paper there that we will come back to you in the new year in terms of delegations to commissioners, and I understand there's some councillors that are working their way through or have worked their way through the making good decisions.
They've completed it and yes,
excellent.
Passed.
So, so we'll come back in the new year.
Sorry, Hillary. Councillor
right.
Westerman, just for the record, Councillor Westerman and Councillor Taylor are now accredited resource consenters.
Excellent.
Yeah, so available for any commissioner work.
Raring to go.
Raring to go.
Yeah, so we can come back in the new year and work through the delegations for that. They are looking at using the JMA process for that as well, albeit a reduced hearings panel of 5 rather than 5, having 3. So we'll work through that process and come back to you in the new year. So the recommendation here is to accept it, which means that council processes it, but the costs remain with the applicant, and we'll look to notify in probably end of January.
Cool. Thanks, Hillary. Any questions? Councillor Williamson.
Thanks, Hillary. Obviously, the recommendation is very clear, but just the last sentence in the executive summary recommend that the plan change be accepted. Immediate plan change request be accepted. In the last sentence, just maybe a bit pedantic.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Just in the report.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's right. Quite. It's a request. It's not the plan change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get that change. Yeah. Cool. Thank you very much, Councillor Leonard.
I just have concerns in regards to the 780 properties. When we already have congestion, we have no primary school on that side of town. That's going to add all of that traffic through the current infrastructure. I also have concerns around reverse sensitivity, that we have a large Māori land holding in behind there that is rural and will be deemed rural even under our current proposals for the district plan change, and whether this should be perhaps considered as lifestyle rural rather than going to urban, especially looking at the medium density that's being talked about there. I just have concerns with, we already have enough congestion on that side of town without adding in another 780 properties.
Yeah, so that's part of the merit-based assessment that we go through in the next phase of the plan change assessment. So all those types of issues will no doubt come up through submissions, and also obviously our reporting planner will have to make an assessment on those issues, and then ultimately a recommendation through to the panel. So those issues will definitely come up and need to be addressed through that process.
Councillor Boddy.
I think Councillor Leonard for raising those in your answer. My concerns are that 780, I call 800 extra housing, which is 1,600 cars, etc. Hence my reasons about discussions on the bridge. But if it's going to go through due process and these things will come out, I'm quite satisfied with that.
So just probably caution, councillors, this is a very much a procedural step that you're doing here to accept it. I just don't want to get you into a place where you are conflicted in the future discussions and decisions that you need to make. So so just please focus on the procedural elements at this point.
CEO,
I'm going to say, having read through the options available to us, it kind of narrows it down. This is the only sensible option we've got, is to accept it. In terms of the other options that were presented in the paper, I'm happy to move that we do that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor, and seconded by Councillor Caffey. Guy, no other further discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Thanks, Hillary. Cool. 4.10, adoption of bylaws for public consultation. Good afternoon, team. Nipple accident, was it, or?
Oh, I wish, no.
Oh. Nice to see you, Timmy. Welcome.
Good afternoon, councillors, your worship. This is perhaps follow-up to the workshop we had with you a couple of weeks back, and taking on some of the feedback from the comments you made on the bylaws at that point. We've gone on and edited, and so we will take the report as read. Just a couple of quick things to note though. In the time that the report was submitted, we got some feedback from Nigel, and on some of the things we'd written there. And so he's clarified a couple of things. One, when we had the workshop, and the mayor strongly requested that we should tighten the litter law offences if possible. And so we had gone in and tried to do that, and you would see that in the version with you. Nigel has since advised that that is not possible. So we've retracted those changes and we've come back to what we had in the last version of the litter bylaw, which again is still slightly stringent. It still requires a $400 fine for infringement, or a $20,000 fine if we do choose to prosecute. That's the maximum the court can. So that's that change. In terms of dog control policy, the former policy required that penalties for late payments on fine for registration would be 50%. Operationally, this has not been the case. It's been at about 22%. So I've had a chat with Ross, and we've kind of set it at 20%, which is perhaps more realistic with what has been happening. So there's that slight change as well. And there's also the part where we would now require that all menacing dogs coming into the district be neutered. Before, the law requires that there may be some exceptions depending on various parameters. But operationally, again, they've clarified that now all menacing dogs coming to the district will be neutered. So these changes can be shared, but they've just been made in the last few days. And so I have not had it. I thought it was better to talk to them with you rather than send anything to your inboxes. And I think that only other thing I can think of that we have clarified as well, in the dogs bylaw, we had a comment asking about menacing dogs. We've expanded that to include menacing and dangerous dogs. It was implied, but it was not explicit, so we've just included that now. And
Good.
Those are all the changes.
No, well done, Timmy. Thank you very much. Thank you for, and I'm disappointed you can't make that litter bylaw stronger.
We had visions of Singapore.
Obviously, some advocation to central government, should be done in the future, I suppose. But it's endless amount of work picking up rubbish, isn't it? So no, thank you for that. You're looking for a couple of committee members?
Yes, we're asking for ad hoc
3?
committee. Yes, 3.
Correct.
With your worship included.
This will be quite not an elongated, but quite an extensive process. Will it be doing all these policies?
Well, yes. So after this, now we open up for consultation, which will go for a month between mid-January to mid-February. And after that, depending on how many responses we get, we'll be hoping to have submissions and hearings a few weeks after that.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have some volunteers? Councillor Boddy, thank you. Councillor Mack, thank you. And Councillor Williamson. Anyone else keen? Sorry, John, I just...
3 Johns. John subcommittee.
J and J. You okay with that? Are they up to required standard?
Certainly.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so that's in 1, 2, and 3 and 4. Yes. And then 5. We've got the councillors' names in there. Thank you, Shani. Do we have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Rankin. Seconded by Councillor Park. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Timmy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. 4.11. Oh, you're here still. Adoption of the Class 4 Gambling and TAB Venue Policy 2020.
Yes, so we had submissions and hearings on the 18th of November on that, and the recommendation from that hearing was that a cap be introduced on the maximum number of machines in the district. That cap will now be 164 machines. We've also done away with the no relocations policy, and so venues are allowed to move into and within.
Happy to we adopt this.
Yeah, total respect for that. But given there was 191 cap previously, there was 151 currently in operation, with 4 more could have been taken up by Pub and Grub, wasn't it? We allowed for one, basically one more, and also as you suggest, relocation. Thank you very much for the work you've done as well in that area.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Williamson, for chairing that. I understand that was a good discussion on that subject, and that's where we've ended up. So thank you, Tammy, for putting that good resource information together for that item too. So we're now adopting the policy to cap and all those other items in that recommendation. So do I have a move, please? Moved by Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Adoption 4.12 is adoption of the transport strategy. Hayden. Good afternoon, sir.
Goes through not only your deliberations and the hearings, but also we did a review of all the summary of submissions because we got a lot of feedback, and it worked through those as well. So it's suggested a number of small changes and made comments where we didn't think changes were needed, or we thought it was already covered in the strategy. So we're seeking adoption now.
Great, thanks, Aidan. Any questions? Councillor Mack.
The TTT is currently in there. Yep. So previously we had a comment that we would look to connect as much of the round the lake as possible, and there is a few submitters on that. In particular, Ross Baker talked about how we're missing the economic opportunity of linking up to some of the national cycle trails, which completely miss Taupō District at the moment. And we talked a bit with Ross about that, and I worked with Bike Taupō again around that. And given this is sort of an aspirational 30-year vision, it does include a link from the Waikato River Trails into Taupō, which is a heartland ride that Bike Taupō's previously been trying to support to get people from the national network into Taupō, and then the TTT down to Turangi, and then a bike trail in Turangi to strengthen the current Tongariro River Trails. There's a couple of networks that they think they can connect up to make a great ride, and then a connection back into the network from Turangi potentially. So that's the sort of 30-year aspirational vision. In practice, potentially it's paired with a bypass of Bully Point to allow the connection to happen, but that is currently in the strategy. So I guess this is reiterating the vision, but you want to capture the complexities that it's not necessarily up to us to be able to deliver that. Yeah. 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 But here's the realities. Yeah. So I can look to include wording around this being a vision, but there are limitations. Is that satisfactory?
Regarding that segment?
The TTT.
Segment, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, aspirational certainly is, but yep. There are a lot of provisos. So yeah, thank you, Councillor Mack, for putting that out. You okay with that?
Yep.
Coming up with some words and perhaps even liaise with each other, so it'll be changed to amended.
Yep, subject to any further requested changes. So.
Oh yeah, cool.
That's captured.
Oh, you've already got it. Well done. Okay, any other conversation regarding the transport strategy? Thank you so much. A lot of work and submissions and all that sort of thing, so appreciate you being very clear and concise all the way through, so really appreciate your work, and truly. So anyone keen to move that? Thank you, Councillor Mack, seconded by Councillor Westerman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thanks. And 4.13, council engagements, January, February. Tina.
Well, we've hardly finished this year and we're in for next year.
Yeah,
so
true.
There's your close starting January and February, and I'm sure there'll probably be some additions to that as we get closer to that time.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
No, not through this, because this is forward. It's been advertised. Yeah. Well, it was adjourned originally, so that meeting still stands.
Okay, no other changes? Have a mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Westman, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. 4.14, members' reports. If they could, any written ones, they come forward, but Councillor Williamson?
You want verbal ones or just written ones? Just
Yeah.
Two in the environmental space with the Taupo Green up at the hospice shop. There's a presentation by a couple of young ladies about misfit produce that's not really basically gets thrown out. They've got set up a business to disperse it, to pick from all the local farmers and agricultural avenues. So it was very interesting. And also a Zoom meeting with Wairiki Advisory Group last week. So those are the two, and also a meeting with Botanical Garden, Botanical Society members up at the gardens as well.
Good. Which are looking in splendour at the moment, of course. Councillor Park?
I attended the Taupo Nui Te Senior Prize Giving, and they're always great reminders of the wonderful talent we have in our next generation. Also, just like to thank the staff for all their work rewriting the annual report, rewriting the LTP, being involved with the Regenerate project. It's all greatly appreciated, and it's been quite an unprecedented year.
Sorry, it's true that you also attended the staff awards as well. It was very excellent.
Excellent. Councillor Taylor?
Just in terms of the transportation strategy and leveraging off what's happening with the Waikato Regional Transport Committee, we continue to place our concerns on the State Highway Network front and centre, and it's not my place to criticise north of here, but the voice for the southern part of the Waikato region is being heard, so I'm comfortable with that. Was out at Maratiri School last week with some safety concerns around access to and from the school on the state highway, so there's some progress being made on that as well, and the potential to leverage off that for many schools on state highways around the region. So good news.
Thank you. Thank you. Christine? John? Good. Kathy? Kathy, anything?
You just attended the Kinloch Community Association meeting, met yesterday with the President. The KRG Kinloch Representative Group meeting was held last month with some good outcomes. Attended the Waiora House meeting. Another one will be held on the 17th, on Thursday. Staff Awards and Regenerate Taupo, which had some great outcomes from the Regenerate framework.
Thanks, Kathy. Okay. All right. Thank you, councillors. Appreciate that. And there was been several Christmas soirees and what have you, so appreciate your attendance where you've been able to go to. It's always the public really appreciate being seen. All right, recommendation there that council received the report from members. Thank you, Councillor Rankin, seconded by Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried.